Labadiena! So in previous episode I started building this cyclorama and I ended up the video by plastering the wall. Couple of days passed and plaster is completely dry, so it's about time to start sanding. Sanding the plaster wall is very messy and I would like to capture most of the dust, so that's why I borrowed this Mirka sander and I hope this will help. I've tried sanding this corner with the random orbital sander and it doesn't seem to work very well. It's just too small, it copies all the hills and valleys. So that's why I made this giant sanding block. So I used a simple piece of polystyrene foam and I cut it with the same radius as the corner has and glued a strip of sandpaper. So let's try how this performs. You see those two protruding paper lines? So this is the consequence of the mistake I made while framing the corner. So the middle portion of the bend formed very well because I had enough studs to screw into, but I made a bigger gap towards the edge of the sheet and therefore this portion remained flat. You know what? Let's go and look from the inside. So as you can see, I should have added a stud around here, but that's a great lesson for the remaining frame. Nevertheless, the corner isn't smooth enough and I have to apply more plaster. But of course, before doing that, I should prime the walls. A quick update on the process. So I already plastered, sanded and primed both of the flat walls. Yet I'm still waiting for the corner to dry, but hopefully I will be able to finish it tomorrow. Since the walls are already finished, I started working on the frame, but I already ran into a problem. So as you can see, the first frame piece sits almost flat onto the floor. But I have quite a gap on these end pieces. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have the same problem on this side because as you can see, I already lifted the wooden frame to level it up, so there's quite a gap in between the floors and the frame. I already have a couple of tricks in mind and probably I will need a mixture of both, but first of all, let's assemble this frame. As you can see, I left the openings in the frame, and that's because I need an access to the screws. So since the frame is already assembled and it gains some rigidity, I will undo the screws and I will let it sink down to the floors. Most probably I will have to shim it here and there, but hopefully this will reduce the floor gap. The frame is basically complete. The only missing part is the cross members in that corner, but I still have to wait for the glue to set before putting those in. If you are wondering how will I finish this corner once the whole frame is assembled, no worries, I already done that. I had to customize another sanding block, but it wasn't too bad overall. I suppose it's about time to start forming the drywall sheets. I've screwed the sheets dry on the upper corner, but it was fairly difficult to bend them. I know you can wet the backside, and this way it should form easier, so I guess I will try this approach on the lower curve. I'm almost there. The last bit to fix is this transition between the floors and the drywall. And honestly, I thought I would have a bigger and less consistent gap, but somehow it ended up quite neat. The second trick to diminish this gap is to use self-leveling mixture. And I hope this will seep under the sheets and reinforce the ends. And last but not least, I would like to reinforce this joint because in winter time the floors get really cold and this room will be heated, so I think this may develop a crack. So that's why I'm thinking to cut wide strips of this fiberglass and embed it into this self-leveling mixture. To the final stretch. So as you can see, I've jumped over a few boring steps. Nevertheless, I had to do those in real life. And just to picture how much work it was, I've used 50 kilos of quick setting plaster and about 45 kilos of this finer white one. So I'm really glad I'm sanding for the very last time. And I'm even more grateful that you followed along. So sincerely thank you, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Bye bye.